This is how the opening shot of Star Wars worked so well, and how the illusion of the huge Star Destroyer was done.
The entire ship is in focus, from the closest thing to the camera to the furthest thing from the camera. It's a really critical component to establishing scale. And the model had little doors and windows, human scale things that tell you how big it is. It's those kind of subliminal clues and an understanding of how to use them that makes it artistry as opposed to simple mechanics.
Time was running out fast for the release date of Star Wars, but the special effects shots were far from done, and the pressure was on for George Lucas.
We were running out of time, running out of money. I said, I don't care if you put it on a stick and just shoot it going through the dark. Put in a few stars. We got to get this thing done.
George Lucas took his proposal for Star Wars to a number of movie studios, and they didn't understand the story.
And they turned it down, completely confused by it. Robots and Wookiees, they couldn't read it and say, I understand what this is all about.
Because even George had trouble making sense of his own story and script.
I am not the greatest writer in the world.
George needed to visualize what was in his head to help others and himself understand what Star Wars could be.
A picture is worth 1,000 words.
So George hired illustrator Ralph McQuarrie to create some concept art for a number of characters and scenes.
When he showed me those paintings, I said, that's exactly what I want. I got 100 ideas here. Do this scene, do this scene, do this scene. The paintings inspired me to keep writing the script. And that's how I got through it.
The rebels almost never blew up the Death Star because Star Wars nearly had a very different ending, but George Lucas was determined for the story to go the way he wanted it.
The end battle was of particular importance to George because the studio was threatening to eliminate it. They had concerns about cost overruns, and they thought, hey, they get to the Death Star, they rescue the princess, that's it, story's over. But George was determined to have this end battle.
Before making Star Wars, George Lucas realized there was no company on the planet that could create the level of special effects that he needed for his movie. So George took matters into his own hands.
When we started the first film, I investigated all of the optical houses and special effects people and realized there was nobody around and no company around that could really do things that I wanted to do in that picture. So I realized that I was going to have to start a company and put together a whole group of people that would just be specifically for making Star Wars.
When George Lucas created ILM to do the special effects for the original Star Wars, the systems and cameras to do it didn't exist. With a deadline for the release of the movie looming and the budget running out, ILM took a huge risk and decided to build the systems themselves.
I wanted to make this stuff indistinguishable from reality, and that required motion control, the ability to record the movement of the camera through space, forward and backward, side to side, rotation, up and down. It makes a record of that movement, and then you can repeat that move as many times as necessary. But we needed to build new equipment. I had to be nuts to think that the studio was going to agree to me going, I'm going to build all of this stuff, and then I'm going to make the visual effects for the movie. But they did. We conceived the motion control systems for Star Wars because most of the images were built up of multiple elements. We'd do mats on one pass, we'd do engines on another pass, and the camera had to be able to duplicate the movie exactly, precisely, so that when we put those elements together in the sandwich we call optical printing, all of the pieces were in sync with one another.
When George Lucas showed Star Wars to Steven Spielberg, it looked like this.
To say it was not finished is a kindness.
It had no special effects and it was just a mess.
Who are they? Do we need they? What is this?
George had edited in old World War II footage for the space battles.
Half the film was just literally like watching a documentary from World War II because that's all George had.